You might be familiar with the phrase life flashing before your eyes, or something along the lines of that saying. It's a phenomenon mostly associated with near-death experiences where a person sees episodes of their life's history in rapid succession, seemingly instant. It's hard to talk about a subject as delicate and unknown as a life review without experiencing it firsthand, but there are many accounts from personal testimonies about how those experiences help people come to a better understanding of their life purpose and appreciation for their circumstances and people around them. It's odd how the moment closest to death can help one value life the most, but that experience is seemingly only possible in such critical circumstances. So if those of us who have never witnessed that kind of event will hopefully not find ourselves in that situation for most of our lives, then how do you think your life will flash before your eyes? And I don't mean as in, how will you end up in that situation, but literally, how will you see your life flash by when it happens? Change Mark is a psychological tragedy one-shot by Uchida Akira about the acceptance of death and a unique portrayal of how people reflect on their life when put in a bordering death state.
Morning. Already?
The story features Kyohei Saji, a third-year university student majoring in art. The day is June 10th, 1987. He starts his day as any other normal person would, waking up and getting ready for his comparative literature class. After the lecture, he accidentally bumps into a girl in his class, resulting in her school supplies being dropped. Saji helps in picking up the girl's stuff, and as she thanks him, he becomes mesmerized by how cute she is. This event seems to have stunned him so much that he was still in the same shocked state when he got to his manga research club. A typical play on the love at first sight trope that's depicted in the span of a single page. As Saji is dazed and his fellow club member tries to get him to finish his manuscript for an upcoming deadline, another club member comes in proposing that they go see a monster movie because he was able to get some free tickets from his part-time job. Saji finally gets dragged out of his trance and while watching the movie, sees the girl that he bumped into again. But as he does a double take, it only turns out to be a normal guy. It's implied that Saji is still in this love-struck state to the point where he's seemingly hallucinating about that girl. We've seen this stereotypical trope played out many times in this series. Thinking about the newfound love interest so much that the main character is distracted by them, losing awareness of their surroundings and...
Holy... my bag! The pen's... dead. God damn it.
In what would have been a terrible accident, Saji comes out completely unscathed. The truck didn't hit him, yet he seems to be more disappointed about his run over pens. A very unusual reaction to the near-death experience Saji just encountered. It's as if the danger never registered inside his mind, and instead was perceived as an annoyance due to his pens being broken. Maybe this could be interpreted as some kind of denial or delayed response, but at this point in time, Saji seems to be fine. The girl from Saji's university shows up, seemingly witnessing the event and asks him if he's alright. The two go to a local cafe where they begin to have some small talk. Saji reassures the girl that he feels fine despite the accident, reinforcing his abnormal behavior to the reader and to the girl sitting across from him. The girl finally introduces herself as Yamano, who is a second-year literature major that recently transferred to the university. In the cafe, there are film cans everywhere, which Yamano explains are put on display by the owner when they have fulfilled their role. It's not clear what these films are from that description at this point in time, but it's possible that they're older films that aren't as popular anymore and thus have served their purpose? Saji also doesn't understand what Yamano meant by this, but she implies that it's sort of a you just have to get it kind of thing. After the two finish dining, Saji's friends find him by the coffee shop and are confused as to why he would be here out of all places. Saji explains to them that he was having tea with Yamano, only for his friends to be more confused, interpreting it as Saji going out for art supplies at a ruin? The Coffee Hori Pet Cafe that Saji and Yamano had entered is revealed to be a closed bookstore. The two friends also question the identity of Yamano. Saji is rightfully perplexed by this sudden revelation, and for the first time, we're getting explicit confirmation that something is wrong, at least with Saji. Between his hallucination at the movie theater and the encounter with Yamano, it's as if both of those events were all in his head, experiencing delusions almost akin to schizophrenia. Even Yamano is suddenly gone when Saji's friends pull him back to reality. We're beginning to see the cracks in Saji's perception of reality, a clear indication that he might be experiencing some kind of event. Or maybe he's just dreaming.
Morning? Already? Was that a dream? Or did I just run into a ghost? As if.
Saji gets ready for another lecture of comparative literature, noting how the recent days seem to go by so fast. It's not unusual for adult life, working or student, to feel as if the days get shorter and shorter, being tasked with so many responsibilities that the day ends by the time you're really able to do anything you want. That feeling of unfulfillment can settle in. Even though the day-to-day seems to never change, the retrospect of even the past week of your life can seem to go by in a flash. While Saji is barely making it through the lecture, he notices Yamano sitting across from him, to which she gives him a friendly smile, a sign of familiarity and that the events of the previous day might not have been a dream. Saji seems to be stunned by Yamano again, before his attention is finally caught by her and they end up in the school cafeteria, which mirrors how Saji transitioned from his first encounter with Yamano to his manga research club. While Saji is still comprehending where he is and how he got there, Yamano tells him that he was the one that invited her there. She then poses a question to Saji. Do you think it's true that life flashes before you? Obviously, this is in reference to how life can flash before someone's eyes right before death, and according to Yamano, the most accepted understanding of this phenomenon is that it's a recollection of one's past to help them accept death. This phenomenon is portrayed in many different series, and narratively, it's used for a similar purpose that Yamano states. The acceptance of everything that has happened in life leading up to the moment of death can help one be at peace and appreciative of the people and experiences that they were able to find themselves in. But what if you refuse to die? Or don't even realize that you're dead? Do those people even get to see the flashbacks, or do they never end? While this is a question asked by Yamano in passing, it seems that Saji thinks she's a bit crazy, or maybe even trying to convert him into a cult. Yamano leans in more, giving a sense of uneasiness and asks if Saji would want to see how the flashbacks end. But how could someone see the ending to those flashbacks without seemingly being in a near-death experience? And would you even be able to call it a flashback if you don't recognize those memories? Perhaps Yamano is implying that even people who forget certain memories would be able to recollect them, particularly in this near-death state. But to the person remembering those forgotten memories, it would seem foreign and they may be less likely to accept them because the situation didn't stick with them. In the hypothetical case, that person would probably be less willing to accept death and their outlook on life if they were met by unfamiliar events that they couldn't recall actually happening to them. While Saji is still confused about their conversation, the scenery shifts instantaneously, and he and Yamano are now in his bedroom. The feeling of unsettlement grows, and Saji tries to poke around his room to confirm if they really are in it, when suddenly the wall falls down and reveals the outside, almost like on a film set. The city surrounds the room contained in the box, and countless civilians walk the streets before revealing many abnormally sized and functioning sea creatures. The kaiju from the movie that Saji and his friends were watching at the movie theater even makes an appearance. Everything in this moment is a dream. It's surreal. The complete defiance of logic and reality makes you question what's real and what isn't. The hallucinations, the sudden shifts of scenery, and the abnormal behavior of creatures. What parts of Saji's story so far have been part of a dream? If what he's experiencing right now is a dream, then what's to say that everything else wasn't as well?
The hell was that? A dream? Complexity, I think. Huh? Again?
June 10th, 1987. It's the same day, almost as if Saji is in a loop. Saji suddenly gets a ring at the door, where it's revealed to be Yamano, who came to bring his bag that he apparently left at the cafe from the first day. It seems to suggest that the second day may have been a dream after all, but the first day was also on June 10th, and the cafe was shown to be made up in Saji's mind. What's interesting is that Saji doesn't seem to recall the event of him and Yamano going to the cafe from the first day, but he does recognize that the day has repeated. And what's more, the only event that happened after the close accident is the one that Saji doesn't remember. This also puts into question Yamano's existence and her purpose. Is she another hallucination that Saji made up, or is she some entity that's trying to work with him in some way? Regardless, the two go to the lecture together, and Saji is once again bored, being slightly uncomfortable and flustered by Yamano's presence. Saji confesses that he had a dream involving her and tells her the details. He notes that the dream seemed important, which is why it stuck with him before jokingly stating that even now he might be dreaming. But Yamano suddenly isn't there. It's almost as if he dreamt her up again, also similar to the first day. As Saji and one of his club members discuss the sudden disappearance of Yamano, the other club member appears with tickets to a monster movie, saying the same lines from the previous 2 days. Saji confides in his friends telling them about the previous day's events that he assumes was a dream that included them going to the movies. As Saji and his friends cross a crowded street, he spots Yamano from a distance and turns to his friends to prove that it wasn't all just in his head. But as he faces his friends, there's suddenly nobody around. The kaiju suddenly appears again and starts chasing Saji into the movie theater, as if he's part of the movie that he had watched. Throughout the one-shot so far, all of these elements of surrealism, blended in with the unpredictable nature of Saji's reality, blur the lines between what's real and what isn't more and more. It's starting to feel as if the entire story so far hasn't been real at all.
I knew it. It doesn't hurt one bit. I am dreaming. But if I'm dreaming, why can't I wake up? Is that the theater? I'm on the screen. What sort of dream is this?
After being stabbed by the kaiju, Saji is finally transported to the night of the first dream. The moment of the accident. Saji wakes up, again, seated in a theater with the memory of the crash on screen showing his body laid on the road. Saji still can't comprehend what happened, seemingly in a state of denial. He's confronted by Yamano again, who finally explains his situation. Saji is in a near-death state, after being hit by a truck. Yamano tries to get Saji to remember the real accident, and it's here where her purpose is finally revealed: to help Saji accept death. Saji has looped the same day over and over again, and despite sensing that something was wrong, he kept repeating it, never taking the initiative to fully realize his own spiral, because he consciously or unconsciously denied it, even in this very moment. Recalling the conversation at the school cafeteria that Saji and Yamano had, what he is experiencing right now is his flashback. Because Saji refuses to accept his death, he's stuck reliving the same day over and over again, in a flashback. It mirrors those who live in a cycle of negativity. The more that they deny their circumstances or refuse to change, the longer that they stay stuck repeating the same lifestyle that they've had. The tape restarts to play the same memory, and Saji finally sees the truth of what happened to him on June 10th, 1987. His body was in critical condition and taken to a hospital, and the final thing that he saw before losing consciousness was the surgical lights. And despite being shown what should be the reality of his situation, Saji continues to deny it. He insists that it's all a dream. His denial is at an all-time high, and he persists on running away from the truth. But death is an inevitability, whether you accept it or not, and what you find at the end of running away is nothing, figuratively mental-wise, but also literally in Saji's case. The concept of death is a terrible fear for many, and if a terrible accident were to happen, it could feel as if your life was cut short, with so many opportunities waiting that you won't ever get to experience. But sometimes having someone help you is the best way to move forward in any kind of cycle. It's why Yamano has been lurking all throughout Saji's dreams. Sometimes people need that push to make that necessary step. Yet, Saji continues to deny it.
Huh? It's dark? 2 to midnight.
Saji wakes up in the early morning. It's the next day. He's not in a loop anymore. Maybe the past 3 days were really just a bad dream. Saji brings up his tale to his club member and believes to have found some new inspiration for his anthology manuscript. Suddenly, the other club member walks in as normal, and he receives some free movie tickets from his part-time job for a monster movie. The calendar on the wall rips to reveal that the day is still June 10th, 1987. Saji finds himself replaying the moments of the day again, wondering why he still hasn't left the flashback. He still hasn't accepted that there's no way out of death until finally... The flashback is done. And the film has served its purpose. While I've already analyzed a lot of the one-shot in the story segment, I'd like to highlight some of its other elements because I think it gives an insight into the clever writing and lessons that the one-shot tries to tell. Films are a big recurring theme throughout this one-shot, and it's probably one of the most prominent demonstrations of the setups and payoffs in the story. The first time we're introduced to the concept of movies, it's through the Manga Research Club watching a kaiju film. Not only do the creatures that show up later originate from the movie, but it's also where Saji experiences his first confirmed hallucination of Yamano. It's played off as a simple incident because of Saji being in love, but this idea and location continue to get developed as the story progresses. After Saji's close call with the truck in the first dream, it's Yamano that takes him to the cafe where the owner displays the films that have served their role. We later find out that Yamano works for the owner as a guide for those who are stuck in denial about their death, and helps put on the flashbacks that are encased in the films. Saji's recurring dreams are all because the projector starts over again, which in turn is because of his denial. When Saji wakes up in the theater staring at his flashback on the movie screen, it parallels to how he was sitting in the theater watching the kaiju movie, except now being exposed to the truth of what happened on the night of June 10th. And in Saji's final moments, I think he finally comes to accept his death, which would likely be the only reason why the projector finished showing the flashback. I don't think it would have been forced to be shut off had Saji not accepted his fate and been left to live in eternal suffering, but that's just my speculation. Remember how in the first dream Saji met Yamano for the first time and was so love-struck that he ended up in that dazed state when getting to the Manga Research Club? In retrospect, this is probably him being transported to that moment of the day, similar to how during the second dream, Saji was instantly teleported from the university cafeteria to his room, and during the flashbacks when Yamano confronts Saji about the truth. It's a good subversion of tropes that's used to set up a later plot point. I'll briefly discuss the art in this one-shot because I think it's worth going over. Akira's style reminds me a lot of older manga styles despite being from the 2020s. The style that comes to mind for me is Blame by Tsutomu Nihei. I love the use of textures and shadows. The backgrounds and scenery and establishing frames look so real, and this level of quality never lets up for the entire one-shot. Uchida Akira, the mangaka behind this one-shot, is an artist who is fairly active on Twitter and Instagram and began posting their work in 2014. This one-shot, Change Mark, was published on December 15, 2021 in Harta magazine, a sign and focused magazine that began in 2008 under the name Fellows. Some of you may recognize series from Harta including Dungeon Meshi, Haven't You Heard Sakamoto, and Ruri Rocks. Changemark was selected to be a winner of Harta magazine's one-shot competition, the Yatagarasu Cup, in its second iteration. While Akira doesn't have any other officially published one-shots or stories, he does have a self-published one-shot that's related to the song Ututu by a Japanese indie rock band called Mizu Irazu. The one-shot was published in 2023 on Twitter. If you want to see more art by Akira-sensei, I'll leave links to their social media in the description. Everyone goes through a cycle, whether it be a day-to-day cycle, a cycle spanning a week, a semester, or even a few hours, stuck doing whatever it is that you're doing. For many, they're content with their cycle. The decisions they've made have gotten them to where they want to be and now live with comfort. But for many others, they're stuck in a cycle that hurts them, and it's a never-ending downward spiral that consumes them. Whether the cycle be addiction, depression, or fear, the lack of initiative to make a change or even be aware of their own undoing is a crucial yet tough step to make. The longer you stay in the negative cycle, the more those feelings of unfulfillment and regret build up inside you. Everyone could use a bit of help with their struggles, but there's only so much that others can do for you before it's up to you to do something about it. You are the only person who can break the cycle. So will you live a life of fulfillment or die lamenting your inactions? When you look back through your life at the end of it all, what is it that you want to see?